With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest moment in my life.
Heyo! How is everybody? Hello, Les Battersby.
Good evening. Hello.
This is Andy from Bang Bang Podcast. How you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm a bit hungover. We'll get to that in a bit, but I'm honoured to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's great. I love it, mate. It's going to be an adventure, I think. A Bang Bang Podcast and chain wrestling crossover, and it's live, so it's not even like we can edit. Well, the podcast version gets edited, but this cannot be edited. What could possibly go wrong?
I know. Well, I normally edit out all the funny bits from our show, as you can tell. So this could be very interesting. So
right. Apparently, my volume level isn't very good. So if I'm too quiet for anybody, please let me know. It's a bit up and down with this headset. I have got a new mic I've been trying, but then that failed on me yesterday. So not very good, is it, eh?
Mate, I can hear you all right. So
excellent stuff.
The accent's a bit dodgy, but
well, it's not too dissimilar to yours, my friend. Anyway. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Cy and Not Mags, a Radio Techers production. I am Cy, and with me this week is the Bristol Wurzel to my Gloucester Fergal, the main event to my less than 100%. I've been off work today. I'm a bit poorly, mate. I've had a jippy tummy.
Mate.
I've had a jippy tummy, but basically I've had the shits, so it's not been a good look. Bit scared to cough this afternoon.
Oh, one of those. Have you taken anything for it?
No, I feel all right now. I feel all right as well now. But I was off work earlier, a bit jippy, mate. Bit jippy, but there we go.
Okay.
A podcaster that cannot figure out why Scrumpy the Robin won't return his calls. Bang Bang Andy. Glorious to have you on the show, my friend.
It's an honour to be on Chain Wrestling, stepping into some very big shoes, obviously, with the great man not being here. But it's lovely. I've always been a part of the CWF. Normally in the bath this time of night on a Thursday. Yeah.
You bathed early tonight, didn't you?
I did. I got it in early because I knew, I couldn't do this from the bath. The signal in my bathroom is horrendous. I've tried recording live from there before, and it didn't work out well. I was going to
say, you couldn't. The signal is the issue, is it? Not that you'd be live in the bath.
No. That's my other podcast.
Yeah, your After Dark podcast.
Yeah, you have to ask for that one. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll start off looking at in the chat, seeing who has joined us already, shall we? My good lady there, Sharon. It's Monday night. You know what that means? Oh yes, indeed. Dan Griffin. Just when you thought the tone of chain wrestling couldn't get any lower. That's harsh, mate. That's harsh. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be good. Dan Griffin continues. Almost disappointed you're not still in the bath, Andy.
Well,
I'm okay with the current setup. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm naked from the waist down, so there's that.
Brilliant.
That's one for the live viewers. Yeah.
Just hope I ain't got to stand up and fix one of these cables above my head or something, because that's right at waist height. That is. Scottish Danny saying evening at CWF, and Dan Griffin saying evening, Danny. We have Fitch here saying, Jesus, they've let Andy on. Yes, we have. My wife saying it's a farmers' convention. It is. We do all sound quite ooh-ah, don't we?
Now, I don't think I actually sound very Bristolian. If I'm brutally honest, I'm not sure what you guys think in the chat. Well, I mean, assuming most of you guys have heard me speak before, but I don't think I am very Bristolian. I'm completely sober tonight, so I think I'm more Bristolian the drunker I get. So
that's
tonight, yeah.
I think my accent comes out the more I drink as well.
Yeah, I've noticed you.
Yeah. I don't know whether your glorious stubble is banging your microphone there, my friend, or not.
Oh, is it?
Getting a few pops and fizzes coming out of you.
Okay, I'll move up a bit.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah.
We have Scottish Danny saying it's Bang Bang Chain, which is a spin-off potentially. Hashtag only baths, Sharon says, and she would be a member of that. I can guarantee you she paid the subscription fee.
Yeah.
Balls deep in carp he is. That's a reference to the Doctor Who pod coming out when season 2 starts. And Dan says only Cy will get that, but all will become very clear when the Doctor Who pod season 2 restarts. And Matt Willis saying,
oh, wow.
Very Bristolian.
Okay, well, I stand corrected, Matt. I stand corrected.
And Fitch is saying, "Is it my internet or is Andy doing a Dalek impression?" Yeah, you're a bit fizzy wobbly and popping noises coming through. So
okay,
sounds
is it still
like the
coming
mic
through now?
is on. I can't read what that says. Sounds like the mic is on its last lefts. I'm assuming that's supposed to be last legs. Yeah, potentially. So Andy is quite crackly. He says, "Yeah." So we'll just sort of play around with that as we go, see what we can fix, and go from there, shall we? But yeah, there we go, mate. There we go. So then, I suppose you want to talk to us a little bit about Bang Bang Podcast, how everything's going there. I listen every week, and I bloody love it, mate.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. Yeah, it's going all right. Still every week we're doing a different show from a different time period. I'm getting lots of nice guest hosts on. I mean, most people who listen to this show have probably heard. I mean, you guys talk about it most weeks anyway, so it's nice to get a mention from you guys. But it's just like a general chit chat about wrestling every week and whatever else pops into our heads along the way, really. And yeah, so we've had yourself on. Obviously, Mags has been on, Dan's been on, Scottish Danny, everyone really. I've not had Fitch on yet, but yeah, eventually I'll get to the end of the list of people, and then we might get Fitch on. But yeah, every Monday's episode's out today about Slamboree 1993. Yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. I like having a chat to people every week, really, whilst having a drink.
Yeah,
so
it's a good laugh, mate. It's a good laugh. I enjoyed it when I've been on, and it's I enjoy listening to everyone else coming on as well. I mean, it's kind of it's different now to how it started, isn't it? Because obviously it was the pair of you, it was you and Steve when it first began, and that's kind of how I suppose the format, I guess, that I discovered when I first started listening to you, and it did sort of help, I suppose, sort of push me towards starting to podcast as well, because I was listening to Bang Bang before I stepped into doing any of my own shows. So yeah, that was kind of like a little bit of an inspiration as well, along with Mag's sort of and my wife sort of encouraging me to get involved as well. So yeah, I mean, it is a bit different now to how it first started, isn't it?
Yeah, a few people said that literally the beginning of it was me and Steve having a chat in his flat we just put the tablet down on this kitchen table and we just talk bollocks for as long as Podbean would let us talk, which is about an hour and a half, basically.
Right.
And put that out every week with minimal editing, as in no editing. So, and Steve only lived in a small flat, so if one of us got up to the toilet, you could hear the flush going and the bowl filling up. And then yeah, it kind of evolved from there. So we did 50 episodes like that. Steve decided that he kind of wanted to step away and lead a normal life and not have to talk rubbish with me every week. So from then onwards, I decided to keep it going with a different guest every week, which kind of keeps it fresher, I suppose. You don't have the same conversations every week, although I do pretty much have the same conversations every week, but it's with different people. But yeah, we're still in contact. He's he hasn't changed. He's still, but instead of him being abusive to me on a podcast, he just sends me texts instead.
Oh, brilliant! So you get to keep those, don't you?
Yeah. I keep them in prosperity. Yeah,
that's it. You can print them out, mate. You can print them out, frame them.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my little girl popping in as well. Hello. Hello, Charlie. You all right?
Yeah.
She's poorly as well, mate. She's poorly as well. She's full of cold, sniffling and sneezing away. So yeah, not good, mate. Not good. But
what I might do, if it is crackly, I might take the headset off and just talk.
Yeah, crack on, mate.
Normally,
crack on.
Yeah,
just
if that helps.
I don't echo back is the only potential issue.
That's
but
the thing. Yeah,
give it a try. Unplug it or try it. If that don't work, we'll try something else, mate. No worries at all.
Yeah, I mean, I've not done anything differently to how I normally wear the headset. I mean, I might have a bit more stubble than I normally do, but it makes any difference. Right, can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's still a bit poppy. Say that again.
Is it?
Oh, that's better.
Okay.
That's better. There we go.
Is it okay? Right.
That's lovely. I'm just going to turn you up a little bit because obviously the microphone's a bit further away, so you've gone a bit quiet.
Yeah.
And I'll do that, and there we go.
Right.
Now I can hear you. You may need to shout a little bit, mate, to make sure everyone at home can hear you, but yeah, I can hear you fine.
I just get my head right close to the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. No, that's a lot better. Excellent stuff.
Okay,
Glad we got it. Okay, I suppose the best thing for us to do now, I guess, would be to dispose of some awful pieces of crap into the old Hall of Fame, Andy. What you got for us there, mate?
Well, actually, tied into the episode of Bang Bang, which came out this week, I'm going to go back to 1993.
Okay.
Ric Flair had made his sort of triumphant return to WCW. I say triumphant. He got fed up, didn't he? And Vince basically said, "You can go if you want," and he did. He went back to WCW. Obviously, had his no compete clause for a few months, so was doing his talk show segment, "The Flair for the Gold."
Yep.
At Slamboree, he was touting that he was going to reform the Four Horsemen, the sort of legendary stable from that time. But I think one of the plans was to potentially try and get Tully Blanchard back, but there was still bad blood between Tully and WCW due to his failed return when Arn came back after running WWF and the drug stuff.
Of a drugs test and to do with more money. There's always money in it one way or another.
Yeah. And so they were kind of scrabbling around for a replacement or someone to fill in that fourth spot. So instead of obviously on that pay-per-view had Sid Vicious returning, Sid being a former sort of member of the Four Horsemen, I thought potentially he could have been a potential person to put in there. But he ended up putting in the glamorous free agent at the time, which was Paul Roma.
Oh dear.
To round boos and kind of just general disappointment.
Yeah. Yes. That's so funny you mentioned that. I literally today read an article. You know, like on your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed, or certain people pop their articles just appear adverts. And I suppose if you're talking about something as well, these bloody gadgets hear you, don't they? You're being spied on all the time. And it was one of these countdown article things. I don't know whether it was for What Culture or something like that. And it was the worst to best incarnations of the Four Horsemen in order.
Yeah.
And that Paul Roma incarnation that you just mentioned came in dead last.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a debate on the show with Chris, because Chris Bellis, who was on our show about Slamboree, he was not defending, but he was like, actually, he kind of made sense, Paul Roma, as a horseman, because he was a good tag team wrestler.
Mm.
And if they're going to bring him in to sort of partner up with Arn, then he was a good potential person to put in that spot. But I wasn't having it, to be honest. Yeah,
it's not very horseman-esque, is he? You know, I mean, what are we talking here? What are we chucking in? Paul Roma himself, or that incarnation of the Horseman, or what are we actually getting shot of?
I think Paul Roma.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
To be fair, I did like Power and Glory. They were good, weren't they?
Yeah, and I suppose maybe that was the inspiration for the tag team side of things you just mentioned. Because they were okay for, a fairly decent tag team division at the time, wasn't it? Sort of 1990, 1991 WWF.
Yeah. Well, maybe just chuck the Horseman in the bin then.
No. Whoa.
That incarnation. Not there.
Yeah, chuck the Horseman in the bin. Bloody hell. You said that just to get a rise at me, didn't you?
We can chuck the LOD in as well if you want, but
LOD. See, I'm more of a Horseman fan than the LOD, but yeah, that's more Magsy's department.
Yeah.
Paul Roma then. Paul Roma, very much so. He's still that old now, is he? Was he 60 now, 61, something like that, Paul Roma?
I mean, he can't be that. I mean, to be fair, he had a good head of hair.
Mm.
Good looking chap.
Yeah. I mean, what did he do? What did he do in WWF apart from Power and Glory? There wasn't anything, was there?
He was like a bit of a jobber, wasn't he? And he was like a good jobber. I think he was another tag team with somebody. I can't remember. I'm sure somebody out there who will remember the tag team he was in before that. He was in. I can't remember. But I mean, that was his kind of. I remember him from Power and Glory, and then
yeah. In the t-shirts that they cut off in the little crop top styles.
And the sunglasses,
Yeah, and they that sort of cropped cut off t-shirt, the sort of Rocky Balboa style t-shirt when he's running down the beach with that sort of look in it.
And the sunglasses as well, they were cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I take it back.
Paul Roma's not going in.
No.
Oh, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Paul Roma getting inducted not inducted, but getting entered into the Hall of Fame. Via the Horseman, I guess. Yeah, good shape, mate. Good shape. I can't think of anything that guy did in his career that was worthy of staying out. To be Power and Glory were good for a while, but that's because I liked Hercules. So
Yeah, I can recommend a good podcast about Hercules.
Yeah, I've heard it. I can recommend it too.
Yeah.
Bristol based, I believe.
Apparently so, yeah.
Mine is, to the surprise of nobody, is WCW based as well. It's a couple of years before the whole Paul Roma into the Horseman nonsense, but it does involve somebody who is incredibly talented, and it's not the individual I'm putting in, it's this gimmick. Brad Armstrong, really, really talented wrestler, did some fantastic stuff, especially in the light heavyweight division, which was just before the cruiserweight division and so on, and the old NWA days as well. Really talented guy, died far, far too young. Sadly, like a lot of these smaller guys who have this ability, they don't tend to have the charisma to sort of take the next step, I guess. And he got lumbered with various terrible gimmicks. And one of them that was quite short-lived for legal reasons, which we'll get to in a minute, was the brilliantly named Arachnaman. Now, have you seen this guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember seeing clips. Yeah, very few clips, but yeah.
Arachnaman was effectively, it was a 1991 WCW creation, and it's Brad Armstrong in a Spider-Man costume, but it was purple and yellow rather than red and blue, and it was awful. And he used to shoot silly string from his hands as part of his entrance to the ring to try and be, webs, obviously. And awful gimmick, cringy as hell. Never really did. I mean, it was absolutely terrible. I mean, those people listening, Google Arachnaman, Brad Armstrong, you'll see the pictures of it. And the suit doesn't even look like it fits him properly. I mean, if you're going to invest in a gimmick, at least, make the effort to get the suit the right size. But it's not a good look at all. So, yeah, as talented as Brad Armstrong was, Arachnaman is going in the Hall of Fame. They had to stop quite quickly with this gimmick, despite pushing it on television and spending money on the costume and promoting it and so on, because Marvel Comics were like, we're not sure about that, fellas. That's very close to Spider-Man, actually, isn't it? And they were going to basically sue them, so they had to drop the gimmick very quickly. And then Brad Armstrong became the wonderful Candyman, if anyone can remember that. And his whole gimmick was giving out sweets to the kids in the front row. That was his gimmick. Bit dodge. Yeah. But there we go. Yeah. Arachnaman and Paul Roma, off they go into the Hall of Fame. So, yes, two pretty dire aspects there. And we've got a few comments in the chat here. Dan Griffin, Brad Armstrong had all the personality of a dry turd. Yeah.
Good hair, nice hair.
Yeah. Good in the ring as well. Brad Maddox was worse. Matt Willis says,
I like Brad Maddox.
Brad Maddox never dressed up as a purple and yellow Spider-Man, though, did he? So
maybe he would have got over if he did.
Yeah, maybe. We have Morty here. Holy shit, there I was eating in a beef eater, and Fitch tells me Andy is on. Glad he told me. Thought it was Paul Ellering. Oh, dear. Morty continues, dropped my cheap-ass steak and headed back to the hotel room to watch you in my pants. Excellent.
I hope that cheap-ass steak isn't a euphemism for something else. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope not as well. So then I suppose we need to jump to Twitter and have a little look through what we've got there, because we did get quite a bit in the way of our non-wrestling topic this week. Following on from last week's topic, which was great returns, great comebacks, great sequels, etc., we're going to look at the other end of the scale this week, and it's the exact opposite. Awful returns, awful sequels, awful comebacks, and so on. And, sporting wise, anything at all. So, yeah, and the CWF did not let us down. We got loads and loads of interactions again. So thank you so much to everybody there for that. What I normally do, Andy, is I run through them on Twitter in pretty much the order they come into us on. And if you have anything to say, mate, just shout it out and let us know your thoughts.
Oh, I will do, yeah.
Okay, you're crackling a little bit again now. I don't know what's happening because you haven't got your headset on, though.
No, I haven't. No.
It's all right. We'll manage.
Okay.
We've got a little chat there from my daughter. Shouldn't even call that yellow and purple Spider-Man. Just call him a weirdo. Well, yeah, Charlie did look a bit weird, didn't he? Fair play. We'll start with Dan Griffin, our good buddy Dan Griffin, at DanGriffin21 on Twitter. Says, Muhammad Ali coming back to boxing was sad. Retired in 1979 with a 59-3 record as one of the greatest of all time. Came back a year later and lost 3 fights in a row and was already a shadow of his former self. doubly sad given his health problems later in life. I don't remember. Obviously, I know. I've seen certain fights that ITV4 used to re-show some classic boxing late at night. Sometimes, so I've seen some great Ali classic fights there. But the comeback where he lost 3 fights and looked terrible. I've not seen any of that. Have you?
No, not really. No, I mean, I think he did like late 70s. He had a few more fights when I think he was probably on hard times financially at that point. So he was sort of coming back to. But those fights don't really get talked about for a reason, I think, because they were a pretty sad spectacle, really, of the guy. So, but that is boxing in a way, and it's you either go out, as a legend, or you end up kind of hanging on a bit too long and having one more fight.
That whole one more,
yeah, similar to wrestling in a way.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you got quite a few people who have come back boxing wise recently as well, haven't you? I mean, Amir Khan has said he's retired recently, but I thought he was already retired, and then he came back for that Cal Brook fight.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not massively clued up on all the Ricky Hatton came back, didn't he, for a one-off?
Yeah.
And it's dangerous, to be fair, because they're going up against people that they're trained to smash them in the fucking head, for crying out loud.
Yeah. But it must be difficult if you're getting tempted back with that, because these big names still sell tickets, so still draw a house. And it is, again, that's one way it is different to wrestling, because in wrestling you come back and have a show, and obviously you're not having somebody punch you in the head for an hour continuously. So you could probably get away with it. But in boxing, there's very few sort of happy endings for these guys that come back and come out of retirement. It normally ends in a bit of a sad. So like people like Roy Jones Jr. was. Okay. That's what Dan just said. I just halted by a message from Dan. Yeah.
I mean, I know when we do a Doctor Who pod, there are times when we got to turn the camera off for Dan because there's something to do with the internet. But that doesn't sound like an internet problem. That sounds like a sound problem.
Yeah.
But it's not too bad, mate. We're okay. We'll get through. We're fine.
I'm not sure why, because I'm very different to what I normally do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, you mentioned there wrestling as well. This next one is going to cause a bit of a discussion, I think, especially if my wife is still in the chat there. Dan Griffin also continues. Ric Flair coming back to wrestle in TNA in 2010 to 2012. His send-off at WWE at WrestleMania 24 was superb, and then he pops up years later just to do chops and bleed. It wasn't fun, apart from the woo-off with Lethal. Now, the big thing for me is, okay, the WWE send-off was brilliant, but Flair didn't actually want to retire. He was saying that this was kind of put on him by McMahon, so it's a little bit of a different scenario. And obviously he's now talking about coming back. Well, not even talking; it's been agreed, hasn't it, that he's going to wrestle a match at the end of July. Yeah. What do you think about that, mate? Is come back to wrestle in July? Because my wife has got some quite strong thoughts on this.
Okay, I mean, again, it's one of those things. People will pay tickets; he'll get paid for it, So from his point of view, if it's there, if he needs the money, then. But yeah, from a spectacle point of view, it's quite sad, isn't it? But again, that happens to most of these guys. Even the guy we're going to talk about later on, Shawn Michaels, he had his farewell match, which was a good match, and it was well handled, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's it." And he was always like, "I'm never going to wrestle again." But eventually, a few quid comes along, and even the guys who kind of stuck to it, most stringently, if enough money gets put in place or put on the table, then they come back.
Yeah, well, the Saudi shows.
Yeah, and they were abysmal, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we got a comment there from Scottish Danny saying Shawn Michaels coming back for that Saudi show. Yeah, and I didn't actually watch. Again, as everyone's fully aware, I'm a massive Shawn Michaels fan, and I didn't watch that match for so long because, well, one, it was in Saudi Arabia, and it felt a bit icky, him coming back for that, for money and so on. And yeah, that's not great. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't want him to come back and not be what he once was. But the money was there for him to make the return. So that's kind of, I suppose, what we're saying, isn't it? It's everyone's got a price, I guess.
Yeah. But the Flair thing, I think, because he's been in poor health as well in recent times, and It does seem, but if it is handled kind of respectfully, and it is his final kind of match, and even if it's just sort of 2-3 minute, 4 minute kind of job, I suppose. But with him again, you've been in this position before, and this is the final match, final run. But it keeps kind of happening, doesn't it? Eventually, I mean, the guy will probably end up croaking it in the ring, won't he?
Well, he's on record as saying that's what he wants to happen, isn't he? He wants to, if he's going to go, he wants to die in the ring. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine being in the crowd or watching? You don't want that, do you?
Not really, no, no.
Yeah, so my wife here commenting about that, saying she was feeding the animals. Sorry, as in Ric Flair, he just needs to quit already and find wife number 1 million. Then Sharon, again, back in the point you just made, he'll die in that bloody ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Morty, Sharon, your kids are in the chat. Don't refer to them as animals. Brilliant. They're my kids too, Morty. Calm down, mate. You're still breaking up a touch, mate, but it's perfectly manageable. You may as well come back on screen so people have got something nice to look at rather than me.
Oh, okay. Thanks, mate. Look at the drafts.
Yeah, look at the drafts. The 6
drafts. Is it better without the mic, or do you think
it sounds a bit better like this? Yeah. Yeah, this is better than with the headset. Yeah, I think.
Okay, right.
So, last one from Dan Griffin. He says, and as much as I hate to admit it, Robbie Fowler was a flop in his second spell at Liverpool in 2006. 8 goals in 30 appearances wasn't great, but he's still god to the cop. Yeah, I remember him going back, and he's never going to be as good as he was because that first run in the mid-90s. I remember him absolutely tearing United apart at Anfield more than once.
He was a strange guy because in that time we had a lot of good strikers, didn't we? And he never really played that much for England, Robbie Fowler.
No.
The amount of goals he scored for Liverpool. And he didn't really look after himself as well, did he? So when he did come back to Liverpool, he was about stone heavier than he was when he left. But I mean, yeah. But again, I never even like with your mate at United, he's come back this season. I mean, he's had a good season personally.
Yeah.
But ultimately, will it have worked out?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, as a United fan, it seems funny to say, but I was a massive Robbie Fowler fan back in the mid-90s. I thought the guy was amazing. But I suppose in that era, the competition, but you had Shearer, you had Ferdinand, you had Sheringham. Ian Wright was still knocking around, wasn't he? I suppose Chris Sutton had a couple of years where he was, relatively prolific. Well. Andy Cole, of course, as well. Yeah. The competition for places in that England side was insane in that position, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. Okay, we have here at Niche Guy at OG Blade Job. He says every single Hogan return since his match with The Rock, it's unneeded, and considering all we know about him, how he does business, and also how he is as a person, I really don't understand why he keeps showing up on my TV. It's a detriment to the product and not a selling point. Okay, feels quite strongly about Hogan there then.
Well, I mean, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. I mean, again, I get what you mean. I mean, Hogan's comebacks when they first started, fantastic. That music hits great. It's like I was 6 years old again, But yeah, now we're a bit older, and I sort of know a few things about him away from the ring. It's a bit dodge.
Yeah, but again, they'll keep. He'll sell a few tickets, sell a few bits of merch, and he'll keep getting wheeled out. Unless he does anything even more kind of embarrassing to the company that he's already done. But until that point, he would have at WrestleMania last year, didn't they? To stand there, dressed as a pirate next to Titus O'Neil.
Yeah. Dress as a pirate, stand next to the black dude, and get booed. That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
It's a shame, innit? The big orange racist.
Yeah.
James at 80s and 90s Wrestling on Twitter. He says, Watford's come back in the FA Cup semi-final the other year versus Wolves. Obviously, James is a Wolves fan, isn't he? He says, it still hurts. Fuck Watford.
I agree with that. Fuck Watford. Yeah.
Music-wise, at the drive-in, did a few shows a few years ago. Saw them at the Institute in Birmingham. Weren't the best, unfortunately, to what they used to be. Also, shout out to Harold Bishop from Neighbours. Yeah, did he have amnesia or something?
Yeah, they thought he was dead, and they found him he had amnesia.
Yeah, that's true. Wasn't he just like working in a shop somewhere?
It was, yeah. And obviously, Madge had gone off, and I'm not sure if she was married to Lou or she was about to marry Lou Carpenter. at that point. So kind of put a spanner in the works between Madge and Lou.
Look at the neighbours' knowledge coming from you, mate.
Oh, mate, I could go.
So it's ending, isn't it? It's ending.
It is ending, yeah. But
How do you feel about that, bud?
20 years. So,
have you not?
Yeah, you can't really complain, can you?
No, I suppose. You're the reason then it's ending, because you haven't watched it in 20 years.
It's my fault, yeah.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We'll jump in the chat quickly before I lose track of what's going on. You got to bear in mind, Andy, normally Magsy kind of does the chat side of things as I'm gas bagging, because I just turn up and fucking talk, basically.
Yeah, I know.
So I struggle to do two things at once. I'm not very good at multitasking, so I'll do my best as I can here.
Yeah.
Matt Willis says Hogan is a racist homophobe. Throw him in the bin. The booing at MetLife for Mania 35 was intense. Scottish Danny, the great orange racist one, indeed. Sharon here saying, "Oh my God, Lou." Yeah, Lou Carpenter. Yeah. He was a funny looking bloke as well, wasn't he? We also,
what do you mean?
He reminded
funny looking bloke.
He reminded me. He had like just sort of like the rubbery kindness to his face, right?
Yeah.
He reminded me of. Do you remember that program Dinosaurs?
Yes.
With that, not the murmur, you know. He reminded me of one of them.
Okay.
He looked a little bit like one of those dinosaurs.
I mean.
It's not much you can add to that.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose he was a. I'm not. This is a big sweeping generalization, but most Australians are a bit weird, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's all that sun.
That's the tagline for this week's episode. That is there.
Yeah.
Most Australians, they look a bit weird.
You can tell when someone. I think, like, serious again. You can tell when someone's Scottish as well. I think
because of the ginger.
No, I didn't say that. Yeah, they got like one of those hats on.
Yeah, and they're always carrying bagpipes.
Yeah, always after porridge.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it.
Yeah.
Matt Willis there saying Harold Bishop is coming back for the end of Neighbours.
Oh,
wow. I heard Scott and Charlene were as well. Might be worth tuning in for that, mate.
Oh.
Scottish Danny's asking, can't wait for that Neighbours podcast from you guys. It's not going to happen.
I know. Well, I mean, I spoke about it. And Cell Block H as well. I mean, you know, maybe once I get fed up of talking about wrestling, I'll, maybe Neighbours instead. I tweeted Rhea Ripley, but she wasn't up for it.
No.
So
no. Well, she's a bit busy, I suppose.
Bloody Australians.
All look a bit funny, don't they?
I wouldn't say that to Rhea Ripley, to be honest.
No, she get the shit out of you.
Yeah, she just crushed my head.
Yeah. It's all Andy's fault. Boo. So you're getting actually booed now. You're getting booed in the chat. Not Chris Hemsworth. Apparently, he doesn't look weird. Well, I don't know. He's got funny bumps all over his body. He wants to go get them checked out.
I don't know. Who's Chris Hemsworth?
He's an actor, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah. I don't know. Shah, what's he been in? Let us know.
Oh, is he Thor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and wasn't he also going to play Hulk Hogan?
Oh, was he? Oh.
He was being Hogan in a film they were making as well, wasn't he?
Okay, was he?
Yeah, if you Google it after you get off here, there's pictures of him as Hulk Hogan filming this film.
That's not that bloke in Leeds, is it? In the train station?
No, not that. No, not him. Okay. I am right. Sharon, he's the one who was going to be Hogan, I think.
I don't know who Daniel Ricciardo is. Who's that?
No, I don't know who Daniel Ricciardo is either. Matt Willis says there. Daniel Ricciardo will be in touch. I've got no idea who that is. Matt Willis saying, I'm Scottish as well.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
Yes, let's see how many people we can offend.
Yeah, I mean, if the signal's bad, I can say what I want. So,
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of Scottish, at Scottish Danny on Twitter, we have.
He's definitely weird.
Yeah. Worst comeback for me has got to be Undertaker coming back at WrestleMania 20 as the Phenom. I was so into Biker Undertaker as a kid, and I still remember eagerly anticipating his return as Big Evil. Instead, he had a slow match with Kane, and we got this, and he sent a picture of the Undertaker not looking like the Undertaker, but still trying to be the Undertaker. Yeah, it was. I liked it. I got a kick out of it, seeing the entrance for the first time in years and so on. But then the match quality kind of dropped for a few years, didn't it? Because he did slow right down again.
Did he come back with Paul Bearer? Or was that one of his later returns?
No, that's right. Yes, because that was one of the big. It was Madison Square Garden, wasn't it? WrestleMania 20, and that was one of the big surprises because you heard Bear's voice over the PA system first.
I'm not doing impression. Max would do it if he was there, but I'm not doing impression.
I'm not going to do it either. But he was not in a good way. Paul Bearer, was he? He was very, very round at this point.
Yeah,
incredibly round.
Well, he was quite a round chap, wasn't he? Most of the time, but he got round there.
Yeah, he couldn't get in the ring, apparently. According to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, he couldn't get up the steps to get in the ring.
I think he was taller when he was led down, when he was stood up.
Yeah.
Not a good combination.
100% totally round.
Yeah.
We have Connor Knows Soccer on Twitter, at Connor Knows. He says, Hulk Hogan's post-WCW purchase returned to WWE. Okay. See, I don't know, because that was the NWO he came back first, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, the NWO were, when they came back, I mean, probably two of them were in no condition to actually wrestle, were they?
No.
Nash was, I mean, yeah, he looked about 60, and Scott Hall was, I mean, how Austin got a match out of Scott Hall at WrestleMania was an achievement. So, I mean, yeah, as a whole, but yeah, I think everybody thinks of that Hogan coming back, that match with The Rock, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, he turned face, didn't he? And was like, it wasn't long after that we got the red and yellow back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think that was the issue
again. And...
Yeah. I popped for that though when he won the title, mate. Oh, that was I enjoyed that as for my sins. I enjoyed that, and then within probably a week of it happening, I wish that it hadn't happened.
Who did he beat? Did he beat Triple H?
Yeah,
he beat Triple H. Yeah,
and then lost it to the Undertaker.
Yeah. He's very bloody, those matches. But that match with Undertaker, he just killed him, didn't he, Undertaker? But yeah, I suppose, I mean, it was a novelty factor, and then the feud with The Rock, but then after that, it kind of felt like he was a bit like, outstaying his welcome a bit, I think, at that point. But
yeah, you're right. See, the NWO coming back, I enjoyed.
Yeah.
That moment at No Way Out, that was cool, and a week or two of it was cool. But you obviously had Hall, he obviously had his issues, didn't he? Let's be honest. Yeah. Hogan desperately just wanted to turn face straight away, and apparently was petitioning for it backstage for a long time. And Kevin Nash's joints were made of Weetabix, so he couldn't function as a wrestler in the slightest. So yeah, it was just kind of doomed. And they started adding the Big Show and Booker T, and they dragged Shawn Michaels into it, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, when he first came back there, that all you wanted to see, it was just amazing seeing those guys interacting with Austin and with The Rock. The visual side of it was like, wow, this is what we expected when we had the invasion.
Yeah,
was this kind of thing, we'd have these, but then like that well-known phrase, but then the bell rang, and then it's actually, they're all quite old and probably haven't been taking that much care of themselves in that year where they were just at home collecting their money,
earning loads,
doing nothing at all apart from drinking. In Scott Hall's case, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
But the whole visual side of it, again, it looked good. Them coming back, and then, but yeah, it probably from that first showing at No Way Out, and then the interactions with The Rock and Austin. From then on, it was kind of
it weren't
classic, heading rapidly downhill. Yeah,
it weren't good, was it? No, you're right.
No.
Handy T1TF at Handy T1TF on Twitter. He says here, any Dusk Till Dawn sequel, Michael Jordan's return from retirement, the Cars Hall of Fame performance. As for TV, just all of them. Get off your ass and write something original already. Fair enough. But I mean, Dusk Till Dawn sequels. Excuse me. I've obviously seen the first one. Brilliant film.
Yeah.
I think I've seen one sequel, and it was a bit naff. But then they made a TV show as well, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, I've seen the first one. I'm not seeing any of the sequels or the TV show.
I think you want to keep it like that.
Yeah, I mean, and what were the others? Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan's return. I don't know enough about basketball to comment on that.
No, nor do I. No.
And the Cars Hall of Fame performance.
The Cars, is that Who's Gonna Drive You Home Tonight? Is that the Cars?
I don't know, is it?
I think it is the Cars.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's right, yeah.
If they played that, then obviously They would have been up more if they sang it in that way. But
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, I'll go along with him. We come to the Steve-O section of the show.
Here we go.
So settle yourselves in, everybody.
Yeah.
Steve-O says, Terminator 3, to be fair, as a one-off film, it's okay. As a sequel to the incredible first and second, it's appalling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Is Terminator 3 the one with the lady, Terminator?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Right. I've seen that, and it isn't very good, is it?
I don't know. I get into quite heated arguments with people about Terminator. I maintain the first one is better than the second one.
The first one's fucking fantastic, though.
Yeah. Well, the first one's a horror film, basically, isn't it? The first one. Second one is like a sci-fi film, like, you know, he's nice to kids and he's got a personality. Whereas the first one, he's just a relentless killing machine.
Yeah.
Trying to hunt this woman down and kill everybody in like her path and everything. So yeah, and I watched that as a kid, the first one, and it was scary. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. When he pops his eye out and washes it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the second one's a good film, but I always say, and Guns N' Roses. I don't like Guns N' Roses. Fuck Guns N' Roses.
What? What?
Sorry, I got some. No, I don't mind Guns N' Roses. That's yeah.
See, I saw you seen a film. What is this? Scottish Danny says. Fair point, yeah. Guns N' Roses, I mean, some Guns N' Roses fantastic, but then Use Your Illusion albums, the double album they did in 91, that people rave about, I think it's 2 albums, it's a double album, right? I think if you actually take the songs that are worth the praise that they get and cut the rest, you can make that into one album. They were just being a bit at themselves with that, because some of that is shite.
What was the album with like the newspaper cover on the front?
Lies, that was called. GNR Lies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like an EP, wasn't it?
Was that okay? I think I had that on cassette. And everybody had, I mean, everybody had Appetite for Destruction and I don't know. I mean, it's good stuff. I'm just being silly saying fuck Guns N' Roses.
Oh, there we go. Sharon jumping in there. It's because it's a really old film to Danny saying that I've actually seen something. So yeah, probably
When did the third one come out? Like 2000s, wasn't it? The third one?
Yeah, I think so. Because Terminator 2 was 1991, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that, around that time. The first one was what, 87, 88?
Yeah.
No, earlier than that. Was 84 maybe?
First one was early 80s, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's quite a gap, isn't it, really, between the first and the second?
Yeah, you almost feel like they really didn't need to make one.
and now they've gone on and made what, 47 of them or something?
Yeah, I've not seen any of the other ones. No, but
normally
most of the films I watch are from the early 80s now. So I mean,
yeah, fair enough, mate. Steve-O continues. Season 9 of Peep Show. He legitimately detests it. Don't understand what was going on in the head of the writers to create that pile of shite. I like Peep Show. I can't differentiate one season from a different one though. I don't know what season 9 would have been if that was the one that they made more recently or something like that. I'm not sure, but
I never really got into Peep Show.
Okay.
I watched episodes of it, but it'd be like one of those things which I turn on like more 4, whatever, or E4 as it used to be. Is it still called E4?
Sorry,
is that like? Is it still called E4?
Yeah, still called it. Yeah. If you ever want to catch an episode of Big Bang Theory, that's what you put on, because that is literally all they show 24 hours a day.
Yeah, but it used to be I catch Peep Show on there from time to time, and I'd see like the old episode, but I wouldn't actually again know what series it was from, or it's always quite good. But I never actually sat down and watched any of the series or took any sort of notice of it. But yeah, it was good. Yeah.
There's moments that. I mean, I suppose in a way it's similar to how I've described Anchorman on this show before, in that there are moments in those programs that are so quotable and just quoted again and again and again that they become quite funny and iconic and so on because of how they're used away from the show.
Yeah.
And Anchorman, there's certain bits in Anchorman that are quoted all the time and The Office as well. The American Office is the similar. That is probably funnier than actually watching it in the show potentially, and I get that vibe with Peep Show sometimes.
Yeah.
Sharon helping us out there. 84, 91, 2003, 2009,
yeah.
and 2019, all the years a Terminator film was released. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okie doke. Right. And Matt Willis here, not so Psy.
Okay.
Big Bang is also on more for.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
I don't think I've ever seen the Big Bang. I've never seen that either.
I wouldn't bother, mate.
The Big Bang Theory.
No, I wouldn't bother. It's funny in places, but it's not really that great. The plus point is it's got that blonde lass in it, so you got someone nice to look at for a half hour. But that's about it.
The son from Roseanne's in it as well, isn't he?
That's right. Yeah, he's like the main love interest for her, I guess. Yeah.
I used to watch Roseanne.
Yeah, sorry.
I used to watch Roseanne.
His girlfriend in Roseanne, was it Darlene?
Yeah.
She pops up in Big Bang as well, actually.
Does she?
Yeah, she's like a.
No, they weren't brother. They weren't brother and stuff. No, they were brother and sister.
That's a different show. That is.
That's one of your
show, yeah. That sort of thing's one of your funny Google searches.
I mean, it's America, so I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, the one with the curly black hair. She pops up in Big Bang as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that that's really relevant to anything at all, but there we go.
No.
Steve-O continues again. Recently watched the series, The Fantastic Line of Duty. Season 4 is unusually poor. The story for that series is great, but unfortunately the actors they use are just not believable enough. Like I say, though, thankfully the actual story makes me forgive them. I've not seen Line of Duty.
My wife watches it, and she enjoys it. And I've kind of been in the room when episodes have been on and sort of, taking notice of it. But again, I wouldn't really know what was going on.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Lookalikes Series 3. The first 2 are gold, but the third is just a sellout to try and be funny and relying heavily on the David Brent lookalike. Fails miserably. I'm not seeing lookalikes either.
All right. It's very neat, Max.
Yeah, we're not doing very well this week, are we? It's not.
No.
Maybe this is something that that could tick a box for you. William Regal in AEW, Steve-O says. Anytime I've seen him, just comes across like he doesn't know what to say in promos, comes across weak, i.e. this last week with Jericho, he was terrible. Just leave the talking to Moxley. It's like Regal is scared of saying something he may regret.
Yeah. Well, when he first came back, he did that promo, didn't he? He got quite lost in that promo. He went on the cut one of the matches later on because he went on for too long, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he did sort of ramble quite a while. He got quite emotional, didn't he?
Yeah, but if you ever listen to any of him on any podcast, he does ramble quite a lot.
Yeah,
he go off on tangents, start talking about stuff which is
Did you hear him on Jericho's?
I listened to the first one, but again, it's like being at work. He was just going through all his medical problems, and it's like, yeah. I can talk to a patient if I want to hear that. But
sorry, Charlie there saying, "I'm going to bed now, Daddy, just in case I'm asleep when you're done. Good night, night, Charlie. Love you. Sweet dreams.
Good night, Charlie."
And Sharon there saying the night to Charlie as well, and Charlie saying, "Love you." Yeah, no night, Charlie. Yeah. I mean, I love Regal, but again, we're really behind on AEW again, and we've got a real nasty habit of doing this. We watch the pay-per-view, and then we say, right, we've got to watch the weekly TV again, because we didn't miss it. We used to watch it all the time. And now it's got to a stage where we watch pay-per-view, and then it gets to the week of another pay-per-view, and we're like, shit, we need to have like a massive catch-up because we've not watched it again.
Yeah.
And we do that. We seem to do that over the last couple of months. I don't know why that's happened. I don't know whether the TV is dropped in quality and we're not that bothered, or I don't know, because we used to always make a point of doing it when AEW first started.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I still enjoy it, but I've not been watching it as much as I was. And you feel like you can just catch up a couple of weeks before. So maybe it's that it's just not that kind of must see anymore. That kind of the feuds are kind of set, aren't they? Like there's obviously the Punk and Hangman Page stuff, and the kind of feuds are set sort of. You kind of know the pay-per-view, what the matches are going to be. So it's difficult keeping the TV interesting in the meantime, kind of leading up to that. And some of the feuds, so people were like the stuff with the TNT title with Sammy Guevara and his missus and that kind of stuff. I was like, don't really enjoy that. So
Right.
the stuff, yeah. I mean, it's still, it's still a good watch most weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't feel like you have to kind of watch it as much as it used to be. Like you kind of want to stay up to date with it, whereas now it doesn't seem that important to do that. I don't know why.
It used to be quite a big thing for us because I would either be not working or home from work by the time Charlie would get home from school. And that used to be our Thursday night thing, which she'd get in from school, straight away run upstairs, get changed, grab her a bear and get her jammers on and whatever, run downstairs, and we'd sit down and we'd watch Dynamite every Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, because it was on demand on the Fight app and so on. I mean, Sharon actually says there in the chat, Charlie started senior school, so maybe that changed because the timings of homework and all that as well, I suppose. But yeah, it's funny because it was for so long just a regular thing we did, you know. So yeah, a bit of an odd one. There we go.
She grew up, mate.
No, that's it. Yeah,
one day we will too.
She's 13 this year, mate. That scares the crap out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Steve-O also says all of the ex-WWE in AEW, Regal, in his opinion, just doesn't fit there. The In-Betweeners 2 movie, again, another Hollywood cash out, had so much potential, but sold out. And for me, went everything against its simplicity and just seemed to be a parody of itself. Yeah, the second one didn't quite do it for me either. The In-Betweeners TV show was good. The first movie was decent, I suppose. The second one, I weren't a big fan of that.
No, I've not seen either of the films.
No. Yeah, it takes a nosedive off after the TV series, I think, mate.
There's not many good. I mean, because it used to be the thing back in the old days. If you had a successful sitcom, they'd make a film out of it. So, but there's not many that are much good. On the buses films are quite good.
On the buses, bloody hell!
I'm sure it was a Porridge film. There
was, yeah.
Are You Being Served Abroad? I think.
I didn't know that one. I didn't know Are You Being Served had a film.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously, Only Fools and Horses, they did like their Christmas ones were always kind of like feature length, weren't they? So
yeah. Like when they went to Miami and stuff.
Bottom, they did a film of Bottom, didn't they, as well? Guest House Paradiso.
Okay, so I don't think I've seen that.
No,
I won't bother them. I know the live. I know they did the live ones.
Yeah.
Matt Willis.
Dad's Army films.
Dad's Army films were terrible. I saw them, but a long time ago. And I used to quite like Dad's Army. I can't really remember if they were any good or not. To be fair, the films. Probably not.
Dan Griffin will be watching them in the next sort of 6 to 8 months, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
40 years ago.
Catching up with us, like.
Yeah.
Steve O'Here says, off the top of my head as well, for a wrestling one, Legion of Doom, specifically LOD 2000. I personally didn't like them anyway. Admittedly, only ever seen during this Attitude Era run, but still, this short stint in 2000 was a complete waste of time. Okay. Yeah, I
agree.
And is that the one where Hawk fell off the?
That was after. That was before, wasn't it? So that was
okay.
So that was that the Hawk having his issues with drinking drugs in real life, which had turned into a storyline.
That
would end
terrible.
with him attempting to kill himself. Apparently, that was sort of late 90s. Then he came back with the LOD 2000, which was sort of 99 period. That's when they came back and they cut their hair.
Yeah,
they had like buzz cuts, and Sonny was the manager.
Oh, Sonny at that time though.
Oh, I mean,
mate.
Yeah, but still,
I was a big Sonny fan.
Oh yeah. But
not so much now.
No. I mean, she's gone down in my estimation.
Yeah, the whole killing people stuff is quite bad, isn't it?
I mean, she's had a rough few years.
Yeah.
But even Sonny couldn't save Legion of Doom in my eyes.
no, there we go.
No.
And then we've got the whole Heidenreich thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, actually, he's probably my favourite member in Legion of Doom. Heidenreich.
Oh my god.
Kensuke Sasaki when he was teaming up with Hawk in Japan. That's my two Legion of Doom favourite members.
So if they would have crossed over, and Droz. So if Kensuke Sasaki and Heidenreich, if their timelines could have crossed over, and they were the Legion of Doom and Hawk and Animal just rode off into the sunset, you'd have been happy with that, yeah?
That's it, yeah. In my eyes, that's the true Legion of Doom.
Yeah, okay.
managed by the ventriloquist dummy, whatever his name was, Rocco.
Yeah. Just was, but still on the bike from SummerSlam '92 with Sonny riding the bike.
He had more personality than the two of them anyway. So
yeah, fair enough. Oh my god. Yeah, you can get hold of Andy at Bang Bang Podcast on Twitter if you want to. If anyone wants.
I'm completely. I just a mild disclaimer. I think I've got sunstroke, so
right.
Things I might say tonight might be. I'm drinking Diet Coke. Okay. Purely Diet Coke, nothing else in there. I went to a football tournament yesterday to watch my girls play football. I caught the sun, and then I had quite a few drinks last night, celebrating the fact that Liverpool did win the league.
Yeah,
with a lot of my Evertonian friends. So yeah.
So you're feeling worse for wear, mate. You're feeling worse for wear.
I am. Yeah, I'm perking up a bit now, though. So
yeah. Guess this all the sugar from the Coke, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And all this wonderful Heidenreich talk.
Yeah,
Heidenreich's your favourite member of Legion of Doom. Bloody hell. You're going to get some heat for that.
Scottish Danny will agree with me.
Will he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right his era, isn't it? Scottish Danny's. Yeah. Oh, dear. Steve-O finally says, just thought of some more. Die Hard 4 and 5. Awful. Kick-Ass 2 is really poor. Dumb and Dumber 2, what were they thinking? And Afterlife Series 3. I think Afterlife is shit anyway, but Series 3 is just a fucking joke. Never seen Afterlife.
No. Again, my wife watches Afterlife. I watched the first sort of 2 or 3 episodes with my old man. And then he died. It's not funny. But right. I'd never actually gone back to watch it again because I was like, because it's quite sad anyway, Afterlife. And I was like, I don't really want to go back and rewatch that because I'm quite I watched. Speaking of comebacks, I watched the new Ghostbusters film on the weekend.
Oh, okay. I've not seen it. Is it any good?
It's all right. Again, does it really need to be made? I don't know, but I'd had a couple of drinks. I was watching that, and I cried.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to start me off, to be honest, with the film.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There are certain things that always make me cry. That doesn't matter what. No, like the wife has the episode of Friends when Chandler proposes. The wife will be crying at the very beginning of the episode just because she knows what episode it is. Right?
Yeah.
The end of Quantum Leap. Not every time, but quite often when it says, I don't want to go into it because Scottish Danny says he's not seen the ending. He doesn't know how it ends, but yeah, okay. I get a touch of emotion there.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert on a TV show that ended in like 1993 or something.
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah. I've not seen that.
No. I did. I did watch Dumb and Dumber 2 and it was shit. It was shit.
Okay.
It was rubbish. Kick-Ass 2 I've not seen, so I'm not sure about that.
No, not me.
Die Hard 4 and 5. Now, obviously, Die Hard's one of my favourite films. I love that.
Yeah.
5, is that the one that's really silly and he like jumps off something and lands in a helicopter and it's like ridiculous?
I went to see what was the most recent one? Was that 5?
Yeah, I think so.
I went to see one at the cinema.
I'd imagine 5 is probably more recent than 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that was the last one then. 5 was it?
I think so. I'm not. Yeah.
The first one, yeah, and then the second one.
Yeah, that's how it works.
No. So the first one is up in the tower, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The second one is.
Is that to do with an airplane?
That's Jeremy Irons, the second one. Is that the third one?
They've got the. My lasting memory of the second one is that they shoot. That they change the bullets out for blanks, don't they?
Okay.
In one scene, and I don't know why that stands out to me so much.
I can't remember. The third one, I think the third one's Jeremy Irons and Samuel L. Jackson. Yes,
that's right.
And then I don't remember. Maybe there was 2 made in the last sort of 10, 15 years. I'm not sure what my point is, to be honest. But The one I went to see at the cinema was all right. It was Shia LaBeouf in one of them, or I made that up.
Oh, doesn't he play his son?
Yeah. I think I went to the cinema to see that one. That was all right.
Yeah, I didn't go to the cinema, but I have seen that. I remember. Yeah, I think he was his son. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Matt Willis here messaging via WhatsApp. The last one we have for this evening. He says, worst ever comebacks. Roy Hodgson as Watford manager should have stayed retired.
Roy Hodgson.
Hasn't he just managed everyone though at some point?
Yeah, he managed us when he was just before we pretty much went bankrupt in 1982, and he managed us just before then. Roy Hodgson. Okay. He was probably 50 then, I think. He's a really strange-looking young person, Roy Hodgson. Like when you
I imagine he was.
Yeah, he looks like he does now, just with like brown hair. Basically.
Right, and he's got he's got like a witch's nose, hasn't he? Because it sort of comes out and then points down.
But again, delving into this is quite. So we in 81 we managed to get Nottingham Forest won the European Cup. They beat Malmo in the final, and the manager of Malmo was an English guy. And I think we were in Division 2, so in the Championship.
Okay.
And we managed to get the manager of Malmo, he was an English guy, came over to manage us. Because we'd not long come out of what the Premier League would be now. This is on our way. We got relegated from the Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2 in consecutive years. We went all the way down the leagues.
Right.
And we got this guy who was a Champions League finalist team manager to come over and manage us, and he was a disaster. But his assistant manager was Roy Hodgson. So when he left, Hodgson took over, and he was a disaster as well. But so he's managed all over the world, Roy Hodgson. In Europe, he was
manager of Switzerland in the '94 World Cup, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was quite funny when Watford got relegated. I think they played Palace, and he got like a standing ovation for the Palace fans. He went over to the Palace fans and gave them a clap, and he just fucked us down the tunnel.
Yeah, so I don't care. My contract's up. I got paid anyway.
Yeah.
Matt Willis continues. There's a few in Formula One. Michael Schumacher took 3 seasons out after winning 91 races and 7 world titles. Scored a solitary podium on his return, somewhat tarnishing his legacy. Alex Zanardi returns to Formula One in '99 as the double reigning American kart champion with Williams. He was so highly rated that his teammate Ralf Schumacher, brother of Michael, was told if he got 60% of Zanardi's points in the 99 season, he would get a year's contract extension. Ralf finished 5th in the entire championship, picking up 3 podiums and nearly winning at the Nuremberg Ring. I think that's
Nuremberg Ring.
Right. Zanardi scored 0 points and was sacked at the end of the season. Fair enough. And Nigel Mansour made several comebacks which were unsuccessful in Formula One. But in 1995, he tried to make a comeback with McLaren and he couldn't fit in the car. Yeah, too many burgers, Matt, but he couldn't fit in the car.
He couldn't fit in the car.
Oh, dear. That's embarrassing, isn't it? He can't fit in the bloody car.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, quickly jump.
Anything I know about the Nürburgring, that's where he used to have... do you remember on MTV in the 90s, they'd promote this concert from Germany, Rock am Ring. Remember
yes.
That? It's like a metal thing. That was the Nürburgring. Yeah.
Because I used to quite like that because I used to go to Download Festival fairly often. Not every year, but for a period fairly regular. And that was roughly the same time of year as Download Festival in this country. So you could always kind of figure out what the lineup was going to be for Download because they'd all be announced over in Germany first. So then you kind of sort of start guessing who was going to play over here. And yeah, it was quite handy knowing that lineup as well.
Yeah.
But they got it better over there. Their music goes on to like 3-4 in the morning. We're not allowed to do that here. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
But I know nothing about Formula One, really. I remember Nigel Mansour and who was the other English guy? Damon Hill.
Yes, Damon Hill, yes.
Yeah. Apart from that, that's from my...
I don't know much about Formula One either. I watched the last race of the season. So, yeah. I watched the last race of last season. That was quite exciting. But I don't know masses about it. My brother-in-law's mad on it, but I'm not massively clued up, so... Yeah. In the chat, we have Matt Willis saying, that may be the hottest take ever. Worst ever hashtag bad cop moment. That's in reference to your Heidenreich being your most favourite member of.
I'm joking, Matt. I'm joking.
He says he doesn't want to be on Bang Bang now. Sharon here says she won't watch Afterlife because she can't stand Ricky Gervais. And I find that quite common. I find that people either think he's brilliant or they can't stand him. There's no sort of middle ground, is there?
No, he seems to be quite a polarizing character, isn't he, Ricky Gervais?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Sharon also says she cried a lot whilst watching the last season of The Last Kingdom. Have you seen that on Netflix, The Last Kingdom? That's good, man. That's worth checking out. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's good. And Dan Griffin asks the question: didn't Hodgson also manage Inter Milan? Yes, he did.
Yeah, twice. Yeah,
and he's also in charge of Udinese for a little while as well, I think. And
Liverpool.
Then, Liverpool as well. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Oh man, you got any that stick in your mind then, bud? Any terrible comebacks?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few musical ones, aren't there? Like,
I
can remember the Stone Roses. They came back after they had a bit of a falling out with most of their members and did like a gig at Reading, which was legendary, like horrendous. And there's a few musical ones. I saw the Sex Pistols. Well, to be fair, I saw the Sex Pistols in '96 when it came back.
Okay.
And, at Phoenix Festival. And to be fair, it was at the time. I mean, again, I'd probably been drinking for about 9 hours before it came on. And we just got thrown around by a load of old punks, basically. I was only 96, I would have been 18. So, yeah, we just got beat up by some punks for 2 hours.
Brilliant. Was Steve
again, yeah, probably was, actually. Yeah, that's before we met. So it probably was him. Yeah.
Just kicking the shit out of you at a Pistols gig.
Yeah. And there's a few, again, like football as well. There's a few people going back to their old clubs, that sort of thing. And but there's loads, and wrestling as well, and boxing. Yeah. But none particularly stick to mind. You know, like I mean, one's obviously Minder being a case in point when they tried to bring that back a few times.
Yeah, Shane Ritchie, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, there's loads, but yeah, any that you've got that are
prominent? Musically, I suppose is the ones that really stand out to me. Last week I said about Motley Crue getting back together in 2005. I went on the world tour and it was fantastic. They'd actually got back together the first time a few years previous to that and released an album called Generation Swine, and it was fucking dire. It was awful. And they've got back together again recently. And one of the pictures I used on Twitter to sort of put forward this non-wrestling topic is of the lead singer Vince Neil. He looks like shit. Imagine if I dyed my hair blonde and I still had my big belly and I was still a big fat sweaty dude. You wouldn't want to see me fronting Motley Crue, would you? You know, that's what Vince Neil looks like. So, the original attempt at Guns N' Roses coming back, 2000, 2001, something like that.
The guy with the KFC bucket on his head.
Yes, Buckethead. Yes, Buckethead. Yes. And Axl Rose was incredibly overweight and had dreadlocks for some reason. Yeah, and they performed on some award show, did a couple of songs, and he was out of breath after about 2 lines. That was not a good look, was it?
No.
You know, that wasn't a good look. But yeah, that's kind of it, really. Musically, it's kind of all the bad ones I can think of, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going to see like a reformed version of. Well, I'm going to see Block Party in a few weeks, and they've kind of. It's basically the lead singer Kelly and another sort of 4 or 5 band members. So that should be quite good. But again, there's a few bands I've seen which have sort of made comebacks, and you think, they should be bad. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
I saw Chesney Hawkes at Minehead, and he was amazing. So it's always the case. Yeah.
Brilliant. Looking at the time, my friend, I think we should really crack on and probably talk a little bit of wrestling because, believe it or not, we are a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Okay, winning the poll this week, much to my disappointment. Well, on one hand, my disappointment because my option didn't win. I wanted to watch Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe from TNA in 2006, but no, that didn't win. Everyone wanted to stick with WWE, as always. I mean, people are so uninventive, aren't they? So unoriginal, you know? Nobody ever wants to go back to 1983 and watch Barry Windham with me, do they? You know?
No, mate. Well, you know. Yeah.
But no, we are heading to 2003 and we're going to Seattle, Washington, Safeco Field Stadium and WrestleMania 19. And it's Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. A card, WrestleMania 19, with a lot of good matches. A lot of good matches. The second half of this show is very, very good. Hogan versus Vince is far better than it ever has any right to be. Brock versus Angle before Brock decides he's going to try and kill himself is a really good contest, and I think sometimes we forget how good it is because Brock does try to sort of spike his own neck through the canvas. You know, you got some really, really good stuff on that show. But to me, maybe showing my hand a little bit early, but to me, I think this is match of the night on that event.
Well, I mean, we covered when we were doing the little sort of Christmas specials. Scottish Danny suggested a Hogan Vince match to go back and watch.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that match it's got no right to be, like you said, it's got no right to be as good as it is.
That Piper comeback as well. Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. But Vince at that time period was great, wasn't he?
Yeah. The facial, the blood, and
facials, and the whole build up to that as well, with it being the whole story of Hogan and Vince and like how they kind of partied when he went to WCW and the steroid trial and all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, that was good. I've not seen the Lesnar Angle match for a while, but I do remember it being incredible.
Yeah, that was Austin and The Rock. I forgot about Austin Rock.
Austin and The Rock, yeah, the last one, yeah.
Oh, that was bloody brilliant as well.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good show, man. I might actually watch more of this tonight.
I did stay watching after this match, unfortunately, when I got to see the lingerie, the cat fight thing between some random people.
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately,
you got before, but yeah. So that seemed a bit. Obviously, that was very much 2003.
Yeah, 2003. Yeah.
That's very much of its time.
Yeah,
well, actually, no,
Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson, wasn't it? And
yeah. I said it really wasn't very much of this. So 2003, not 1974. But that's what it felt like. But this match is Again, I didn't really remember watching this match again since I probably watched it the first time. So watching it again, you forget how good both these guys were at this point.
Yeah, absolutely super. I mean, I think Shawn Michaels in this era, he had a run of WrestleMania matches that are just absolutely fantastic. This was his first Mania back after coming back from his back injury. And then you think that this was 19. So WrestleMania 20 was the triple threat main event with Benoit and Triple H. That was incredible. 21, we covered last week because he wrestled Kurt Angle. That was superb. He had a fantastic match with Cena around this time as well. And then you start getting into the Undertaker matches and all that sort of stuff. Oh, such a great run. But here, there's still question marks over Shawn a little bit for me. Like, can he really go on the bigger stage? And because a lot of the matches he's had up to this point, on pay-per-view, are kind of, you can get around not being as good as he once was because you had the no DQ match at SummerSlam when he first came back. So you got all the bells and whistles, the shortcuts, the weapons and all that. Then Survivor Series, Survivor Series was the Elimination Chamber. So again, he's surrounded by five other blokes, so you can get away with a bit there. And then it was the Royal Rumble that he was in, and so this is to me the first real proper one-on-one match where we get to have a look and see how good is Shawn actually still. And I think they tear it down, Andy. I think they're absolutely fantastic here. I mean, did you watch the video package at the beginning of the match, sort of the recapping the feud?
Yeah, so I went back and watched a bit of the kind of stuff leading up to it as well. So in the video package, it showed the kind of the way Jericho been saying how he looked up to Shawn Michaels, always wanted to be Shawn Michaels, and then actually decided he wasn't going to be the next Shawn Michaels. He was going to be the first Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
But I went back and watched the Rumble when obviously he won a battle royal, didn't he, Jericho, and he could pick his number in the Rumble, and because Shawn Michaels was number 1, he picked number 2 just so he could prove that he could match Shawn Michaels' achievement of winning the Rumble from the first 2.
Yeah.
And then him and Christian put a fast one and he ends up just killing Michaels in the Rumble and just chucks him out like the first person out.
See, I was devastated when that happened because in me, the big Shawn Michaels mark I am, I'm thinking Shawn's going to win the Rumble. He's going to go to WrestleMania. He's going to win the title. That's what I thought.
It's impressive, really, for the story, because that would have been Michael's first Rumble back.
Yes.
And what was the Rumble before? I mean, I can't really remember him. So obviously, he wasn't really in many Rumbles after he became champion, was he? I can't remember him being in, because he defended the title most of the time, wasn't he, at the Rumble?
He won it in 95.
Yeah.
And he won the Rumble in 96.
Yeah.
97, he beat Sid in the Dome in Texas in the main event to win the title. 98, he wrestled Undertaker.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in the Rumble then. And then he missed 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. So yeah, this is his first one. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big commitment to have him basically go out straight away as part of the storyline leading to WrestleMania. Because again, most people are thinking, he's coming back. He's synonymous with the Royal Rumble. He's going to have a good run. And they think actually, no, there's a better story if he gets put out earlier by somebody, and that will lead to a match at WrestleMania, having him going all the way and doing really well.
Yeah, so it's something they repeated a couple of years later with the whole Kurt Angle one as well. It works. It works. It's great. They call it Royal Rumble season or WrestleMania season, don't they? I love the way that, especially back in this sort of time, you were guessing who was going to face who and waiting to see who the Rumble winner was, and then how the other storylines were going to take place. And some of the storylines and some of the story writing, I guess, in that time frame, at that time of year, in these sort of select few years, I think it's really, really good. And I think it's a shame that we don't tend to get it as good now, I suppose.
Yeah, because they must have had that, because again, the rivalry started before the Rumble. So that would have been sort of December, January time. So then they must have had this match in mind for the Rumble, sort of 4 or 5 months in advance.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens these days, is it?
No.
Really? They might have the main event lined up, possibly. But apart from that, there doesn't seem to be much kind of thought put towards a long-term sort of story leading up to these big events. I mean, I'm sure next year they probably got an idea of what they want to be the main event of WrestleMania. But then they're like, actually, we'll just get to it however we can. We haven't got a road sort of planned out that way. It's just we'll just
And I think as well now it's the brand, isn't it? WrestleMania sells itself. WWE sells itself. It's not like the late 90s, early 2000s when you're tuning in or you're buying your pay-per-view to see what Austin is going to do or to follow The Rock's title challenge or whatever. It's because I would tune in for individuals and particular storylines. But I think to the younger generations now, it's a case of it's WWE. It's just kind of what they do, as opposed to needing that definite hook that I suppose would have got me watching. I guess.
Yeah. And again, you don't really. I mean, I keep up with it. I haven't watched it for probably over a year. WWE on TV, but if you just follow the Twitter accounts to show you everything that happens, so you don't really need to watch the program, do you? You know?
No.
So there isn't that. You don't really need to get people hooked into watching the show, the storyline. You just need to point them in the direction of the interesting things that happened, and then if you sign up to the network, whatever, you buy the merch, then fair enough. But
yeah, that's it. We get a mention on commentary about some cameras being around the ring because they're filming WrestleMania the movie.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that like maybe a documentary that came out on the network or something? I don't remember seeing that.
No, I've got no recollection of that at all.
No, a bit of an odd one. Jericho comes out in his usual, his usual music, his usual entrance, and so on. Jericho's music obviously uses Judas now, which I reckon is a banging. I reckon it's a banging record. I reckon it's great.
Yeah,
but this is like really symbolic music for him, isn't it? This WWE music he had for so long. What do you prefer if you had to pick?
Well, I mean, I like Judas now.
Yeah.
Again, you couldn't see if similar to with Cody going back to WWF. I don't think I'd be surprised if WWF. Because I mean, he could bring that theme with him, couldn't he? He could bring Judas with him, but I'd be surprised if they let him have that if he came back to WWF, or he could just stick with his old theme. Yeah, I mean, I prefer. Yeah, it is a classic theme. The old Y2J one, and the whole kind of countdown and that sort of thing, and. Yeah, but it seems, seeing him in AEW, it'd be weird if he had that music in AEW. AEW seems to be separate, and that's Judas. But WWF is always synonymous with that entrance music, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Judas.
Yeah, and me. I lean towards that. I love that record. I think it's really, really good. I've seen Fozzy live.
Yeah, have you? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there was a double bill. It was Fozzy and a band from Sweden called Hardcore Superstar, who are like
I know Hardcore Superstar.
Yeah, like glam sort of 80s hair metal kind of that. Judas to open the show. So then I was literally like, oh, okay, I'll just go now, shall I? But no, I hung around and they were good. They were decent. But yeah, we lost that was it. Judas was it. Like, so I've had a bit of an internet issue there. Have I? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you froze them for a minute.
Could you hear me still?
Yeah, I still hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I don't know what's happened there. The internet's gone a bit wobbly, but there we go. Shawn Michaels has some confetti guns for his entrance that he's trying to blast out into the crowd, and they don't quite go to plan. A couple of them don't go off and don't work. But Shawn, the professional he is, I suppose, goes along with it, pretends to cry and so on. I suppose he carries on as best he can.
Yeah.
And then the match starts, and it's a wrestling match. It's not a brawl. It's not a fight. It's a big rivalry they have, but they're not starting by, being anger fueled and wanting to kick the crap out of each other. It's a wrestling match. We have headlocks, we have arm drags, we have head scissors and all sorts, don't we? It's not like, some of these blood feuds where they just start scrapping. They're wrestling, aren't they?
Yeah, well, that kind of played into the storyline of the feud, didn't it? It was Shawn Michaels sort of trying to, prove himself against this younger version of himself almost. Say prove that he could still kind of go and still keep the pace with Jericho. And the way the match started, they were kind of going move for move, weren't they? And Michaels was being cocky and Jericho was getting wound up by him. And
when he slides across the turnbuckles.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of cockiness that I really like about Shawn Michaels. Ever since I was a kid, when Shawn was a heel and he was just this horrible, conceited piece of crap. For some reason, I thought he was wonderful when I was 10 years old. So,
Well, it's interesting to think if he would never have come back, what his legacy would have been.
Yeah.
Because he kind of redeemed himself in a lot of people's eyes over the next sort of 10 years, didn't he, after he came back? Because he had a good run, but by the time he lost to Austin, he was like so badly beaten up, and he was, and then the kind of at the time it was like he's never gonna come back. But then again, he probably did a lot of good because of all the the well told stories of how he was backstage in those days before he was out with his injury. And then he seemed to do a lot of work of kind of repairing his reputation and that kind of thing, especially in the eyes of the fans as well. In the next sort of 10 years, he was putting on matches with all these great guys, putting people over and kind of actually cementing his legacy as one of the all-time greats. Whereas before, he probably been looked at as a bit of he had a few good years, but in Germany, he was a bit of a twat.
Yeah, I mean, his backstage behaviour is quite well documented, isn't it? And to me, there's a couple of different sections of Shawn Michaels' career. To me, you have obviously the Rockers stuff is what it is, but then you have mid-card heel Shawn from when the Rockers split and they had a few IC title reigns. Then you have babyface main eventer Shawn from like 96 and so on. when I think he was putting on some of the best matches you could find in the United States.
Yeah.
And effectively carrying that company on his own, because he was surrounded by the likes of bloody, Viscera and whatever the guy's name, Mabel, his name was before Viscera, wasn't it? And all and there was plumbers, and the Goon was still running around, and there's a dentist and all that sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
And then you had DX Shawn, and then you have this run here. And I think you're right. If this doesn't happen, he's looked back upon completely different, because even though the matches he had, especially when he was babyface main eventer Shawn in the mid-90s, some of the matches he put on was fantastic. Even then, his attitude stank. So I think you're right. I think he's looked back upon completely different if he doesn't have this run here.
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of forget over the duration of his career, like you said, it's very different, kind of the different segments, different. And he's probably a different person outside of the ring as well through those sort of 20, 30 years. Actually growing up and maturing and turning into a reasonable human being by the end of it. So
less drugs as well.
Less drugs, less hair as well. No,
less hair, yeah. He is. It's not a good look when you had sort of had it all go in and he kept the. But I have said to the wife that I've said to the missus that when I start going bald, obviously it's going to go here. I'm just going to do what Shawn Michaels did and wear a hat.
Yeah,
like all the time.
Okay.
Right, because so I don't lose this, right? But she said that's never going to happen. If I start doing nonsense like that, she's just going to cut it in my sleep, just hack it off.
I mean, you look completely normal walking around Gloucester in a cowboy hat.
Well, no, I'm not necessarily saying it would be a cowboy hat. I could just wear a hard hat all the time. People think I just work on a building site.
Yeah, you're in the village people.
Yeah, exactly. Cowboy hat, policeman's hat, hard hat. Yeah, I could,
like a red Indian headdress.
Yeah. Oh, that would be the one, wouldn't it? That'd be the one. Just popping into Aldi's or whatever, all the feathers coming off,
Yeah.
Sharon there in the chat saying, I do have a cowboy hat. I do.
I'm sure you do, mate. I'm sure you do, yeah.
Anyway, eventually the match kind of settles down into a bit of a rhythm. Shawn Michaels quite early on uses a figure four, which is always, gets a few woos from the crowd. They end up fighting outside as well quite early on. And Jericho puts the Walls of Jericho on Shawn Michaels on the outside of the ring. Now, obviously, he's not going to win the match by doing that.
No.
But this is a funny one for me because it's the same move, but people seem to react more to that being on the outside than the inside. But it's the same move. And you'd get this quite a bit, don't you? Like when people would put on a figure four or a sharpshooter on the entranceway, the crowd go mental, but it's the same bloody move. I don't understand.
Yeah. Especially outside the ring, because you're on a mat anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's not like if you're on metal, I suppose it might hurt a little bit more. I don't really know why. But...
And you're not going to win. You can't win it out there.
No. That's very true. He hasn't fought this through, has he?
No, he's not, mate. He's not. Have a word with yourself, innit?
Yeah.
Jericho starts working Shawn Michaels back, as most of his opponents in this era did, for obvious reasons. There's lots of big suplexes, a real nasty looking backbreaker as well. He kind of bounces with the canvas, and Shawn goes up and down over his leg. That looked really vicious.
Yeah, it's quite handy to have like an injury.
Yeah,
and that can be played into your matches and your storylines. Like, oh yeah, notoriously he's got a. Like with Kurt Angle with his surgically repaired neck, whatever.
Yeah.
It can play into a match, can't it? That someone's he's attacking that. His specially made metal plate in his forearm.
Yeah. Oh, good old Lex.
Yeah.
Matt Jackson had a back issue, didn't he? And they strung that out in Japan for like years.
Yeah.
But it made sense. It was quite logical in their storytelling. So.
Yeah, use it if it's there. Yeah. Then as long as you're not actually genuinely attacking someone,
screwing them
on. Yeah.
We also, after that backbreaker, get the Jericho foot on the chest pinfall attempts, don't we? Where he stands there and flexes. Now, obviously, he never wins a match like it, but I always get a kick out of that because again, it's just the arrogant, conceited side of things, isn't it? It's just brilliant,
Yeah.
Shawn hits a big DDT to sort of take control for a little while before Y2J hits the Shawn Michaels kind of flying forearm and then does like the sort of nip up onto his feet and hits that Shawn Michaels kind of bicep pose where he does with the fireworks go off, and gets booed out of the building for it. But again, I thought this was fantastic. It's just such good heel shit, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is kind of, I mean, it's basic kind of storytelling as a heel. And if you're in a big match against somebody who's, a big rival and, quite famous, to do this sort of stuff, to take the piss, to be like, mocking, it's an easy way to get a reaction out of the crowd, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the visual here is good as well, because Shawn nips up behind him as he's doing it. I thought that was quite, I'm very critical. I'll tell you what, actually, speaking of that, I'm very critical of WWE and the way they film things and their production and so on. Here, obviously, that was a great camera shot for a start. But something I noticed as well is how the place is lit. You can see it's a big place. You can see it's a big crowd, but it's not like now. If you watch a WrestleMania or something, now, it's just so bright. The ring posts have got lights on them. The arena's got lights on it. It's just so bright. And I think it's watching this. I wish they'd go back to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can remember noticing that when me and Scottish Danny did talk about the Hogan Vince match, about how the crowd was lit during this WrestleMania. It's one of the things next. I think with AEW they changed that recently. They, I think they always went for a darker kind of ringside area with the crowd. But I think they switched the lights on recently as well to make it a bit more bright in the crowd. One of those things. Old NXT used to do that, didn't they? Old NXT. It would be completely black. You couldn't really see the crowd. Obviously, you had a black ring as well, and the sort of black and gold apron and ropes and stuff. Kind of made it feel a bit more. I don't know. Just I suppose it makes it look smaller in a way. If you can't see on the outside, you can't see you in like a massive stadium, but it sort of concentrates your focus more on the actual ring.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I think when you've got all the lights, it's too much for me sometimes. Like SmackDown. Is obviously blue and white is the color, isn't it? SmackDown. So it's all incredibly lit and clear, and it's a bit much, and you get the constant camera changes as well. And
speaking of the crowd, Dave Mercy was on our show at the start of this run of this series. He was in the crowd and he puts up a sign with his name on it through the side. You see a guy put up a sign saying David Yule.
What, on this?
That is, yeah, that's him.
Oh, why?
Yeah, he was ringside for this match. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'll have to go back and look at that.
As he tells me every time we speak, basically he mentions it, but
yeah. Brilliant stuff. From Shawn nipping up, we get a bit more brawling, a few more moves exchanged. Shawn goes for a moonsault from the top rope, gets a 2 count with that. Jericho gets a near fall as well with a Northern Lights suplex and a neck bridge. And then he goes for a Frankensteiner. Shawn Michaels goes for a Frankensteiner, and it's countered into the Walls of Jericho. And I thought that was really good. That was cool. That was excellent stuff.
Yeah, he sort of catches him, doesn't he? Halfway through, and he turns it into the move. Yeah.
Jericho then starts, I suppose the term is, tuning up the band. He's again mocking Michaels in a way, doing some of his signature spots, I suppose, setting up for the super kick, which he misses. No, he doesn't. Sorry, he hits that one, doesn't he, for a 2 count?
Yeah,
he hits that one, and then eventually Shawn is going for. This is another spot I think was really good heel stuff, because Shawn goes for an elbow drop from the top rope, and Jericho, in desperation, kicks the referee into the ropes, which makes Shawn crotch himself. I thought that was really clever.
It is clever, yeah. I mean, I don't know who. I imagine they put this match together with the aid of a producer, whatever. I don't know who the producer was, but the spots were really well worked out. I mean, you've got two of the best ever to do it, having in the ring, which helps.
Yeah.
But little things like that are they're really quite clever. And you think, oh yeah, that actually, if you were in that position and you were desperate and you were like a crafty heel, then that's actually this ideas come up into his head. Am I going to get out of this? I'm screwed. Like, oh, actually, no, I'll kick them out of the arse.
It makes sense, and that's kind of all I really want from when I'm watching wrestling as well. I want it to make sense. I don't want to be taken out of the moment by something that's a bit ridiculous,
Yeah.
I mean, Jericho joins him on the top rope, gets pushed off, and then Shawn does hit that top rope elbow drop, which is, I think, it's one of the best top rope elbow drops going. I think it's absolutely superb.
Yeah, it's a good one. Isn't
it is, isn't it? Shawn then misses his own attempt at Sweet Chin Music. We go into the Walls of Jericho, and Michaels gets to the ropes. And Jericho here is fantastic. We talked about the facials of Vince McMahon earlier on. Jericho here is almost crying with frustration.
Yeah.
And slapping the mat, and I thought that, because again, that tells a story. He's getting frustrated because he can't get the win. He can't, get over the line, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. He was good as a heel at this point. He was amazing, Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, he is. He's good whatever he does, I think, isn't he? He's one of those that bracket of real top elite kind of, top class, isn't he? As he's having his tantrum, though, he turns and he just basically eats a super kick straight in the mush for for a 2 count there. Shawn is then fired into a reversal happens, and Shawn is fired into the corner. He flips out of a suplex attempt, lands on his feet, and then gets this kind of odd-looking backwards roll-up with his feet in Jericho's armpits kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like strange, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of a weird sort of rolled-up cradle kind of effort, and wins the match out the blue. And again, that's something else I really like, because I get annoyed. I think WWE have kind of conditioned people to think this way. A match has to end on a finish. A match has to end on a finishing move. Where some of the best matches of all time, I mean, Steamboat versus Savage at WrestleMania 3, that ended on a small package. It just takes 3 seconds. And I think that's part of wrestling that we've lost now as we've gone through the years. Does that make sense?
What move did Ric Flair win in most of the times?
Well, it weren't a figure 4.
It wasn't a figure 4, was it? No. It was generally a roll up or a small package, wasn't it? The thing is when you're booking the show, you don't want 3 or 4 small packages finishes on the same show, do you?
No.
2 or 3, no. So it needs to be put in the right place. But it's definitely, it's a believable move. You can catch someone with that, and you pin them with that. But yeah, I mean, most heels, a lot of heels would win by that way, wouldn't they? Or like when you'd have the smaller champion like Brett. I remember Brett when he beat Diesel. That was the way he beat Diesel when he had that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
small package. It's like, well, how is he going to get him in there? You can't get him up. You can't lift him. You can't put the sharpshooter on him because his legs are too long. So he managed to catch him in a small package. Yeah,
and Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10, he rolled him up, didn't he? Yeah. So. Yeah, it's good.
I blanked those matches. Yeah.
So and that's it. Well, effectively, that's it. We get a handshake moment, which turns into a hug, which turns into a kick in the balls.
Again, it's a brave move to not give. You think, oh, Shawn Michaels wins, we're going to get 10 minutes of him celebrating afterwards with the crowd, and you think that's what's going to happen. And then Jericho comes over and they sort of hug. You think, oh yeah, and then Jericho kicks him in the balls. So, yeah, I mean, again, that kind of it puts Jericho over a bit more. I suppose it reinforces him as a nasty heel. Because again, if you look back, the year before was it him and Triple H at WrestleMania year before?
Yeah,
Jericho?
18, yeah, because Triple H come back from his injury,
didn't really do a lot. They had like the brand split long after that, didn't they? And he was kind of shunted off, but he kind of just disappeared from the world title picture pretty much immediately after WrestleMania, and then wasn't really kind of featured that heavily in main event stuff up until this feud with Jericho. But yeah, he was on a run here of having, obviously he had Triple H, and the year after this was him in Christian, wasn't it, with the Trish?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So he had a good run of WrestleMania matches as well, kind of around this period. It's interesting to think what they kind of. I suppose they made the decision fairly early to go with Triple H as being the kind of dominant sort of heel character. But look, I mean, they gave, obviously when Jericho won the Undisputed title, Triple H was injured, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting if Triple H would have been fit at that point, if they still would have gone with Jericho.
There's also the other side of that as well, the invasion angle.
Yeah,
Triple H missed the whole invasion angle, and I always wonder where he would have fitted in.
Yeah,
because obviously they had Austin turn heel and they had Angle turn heel and all that sort of stuff to sort of strengthen the alliance, I suppose, the WCW side of it. But I wonder where Triple H would have fitted in that story, because he missed the whole thing, didn't he?
That was a bit like, it was very similar to when you guys were speaking about last night about sort of comebacks and twists and things like that. After the alliance, that storyline finished, the Invasion storyline, that kind of after that, it was like, well, that whole year is kind of forgotten. And Triple H missed all that out anyway. So he was quite lucky, actually. So things just kind of resetted back to normal after that sort of storyline finished. And we were back to the, we had the brand split and that sort of thing. But yeah, Triple H probably didn't, he was quite lucky he missed that out, actually.
Yeah.
For his career.
Yeah.
But
he'd have ended up jumping ship and I'd imagine going to the Alliance side, wouldn't he, I suppose?
Yeah.
You'd have thought, wouldn't you? But yeah, okay. So then, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 19. Out of 10, what are we thinking?
Oh, I give it an 8, I think.
Yeah? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, a good match, two of the best ever at WrestleMania, told a story. Yeah, I give it an 8.
See, last week, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, I gave a 10. I went all in on that. That was one of the best matches. I loved it. I loved this as well, but it's not quite as good. It's not quite as good, so I think I'm going to go over 9 for this one. I think I prefer this to the ladder match they had a couple of years later. I think this is the better match.
I also remember that feud they had later on where he ended up throwing him through the Jericho thing.
That's
and
it.
Then he punched Shawn Michaels' wife in the face.
Yes.
During the feud. But that was like 2007, 2008 sort of time, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean that was a good feud. But again, it's two guys who are, you're always going to get good value in the ring and outside the ring with these two guys. They're both a good promo. They've both put on amazing matches. So you're kind of onto a winner, aren't you, with these guys? You put them together.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, mate. I suppose then we want to know what we could potentially be looking at next week, or what I will be looking at with whoever is sat in the hot seat there, whether hopefully Mr. Mags is back or whether we rope in another guest host or whatever we do. What have you got for us, Andy? Where do you link to from this match?
Well, I'm going to go to, actually we spoke about AEW a bit earlier, so I'm going to go to Full Gear 2019. Which is Cody Rhodes versus Chris Jericho for the AEW World Title.
Okay.
Which was a good match with a surprising heel turn at the end. Surprising you can't remember the guy ever actually being a face in the first place, but he was a face briefly. So that's what I picked for next week.
See that. Yeah, we've not done hardly any. I don't think we've done any AEW on Chain Wrestling actually. I'm not sure we've done. We may have done 1 or 2 matches, but I don't think we have. But yeah, I mean that, and Cody is very topical at the moment as well, isn't he? With him jumping back across to where he was in the WWE. But yeah, Jericho versus Cody, Full Gear 2019. That is a great shout. I've not watched that match since it happened, so I'd be really interested in going back to check that out again. And my little girl's a massive Cody fan as well. She just thinks the guy's great. So that'd be. But she oddly likes Stardust as well.
Oh, I think everybody loves Stardust, and it was good Stardust.
I don't know about everybody, mate.
No,
but Charlie loved Stardust. I mean, should have been. What should have been? That was what 5-6 years ago. So she'd have been 6 or 7.
Probably longer than that, isn't it?
Yeah, Stardust. She thought was great. Oddly, I don't know why she sort of. I don't know, but there we go. But yeah, okay. Well, so there we go.
He was better than kind of, bog standard Cody Rhodes back then, wasn't he?
I liked Cody Rhodes that would put the bag on the ugly people.
Oh, he was great then, yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, in his moustache and his face mask. And
Dashing Cody Rhodes, was it? Was that the yeah.
And even like the stuff with Legacy, that was good as well with Ted DiBiase. Yeah. But when they done the thing where they were feuding with the Shield and it was Dustin and Cody against the Shield in those matches, that was good. But when after that was done, it was like, well, if he's not going to feud with Dustin, which I think was what everybody was hoping was going to happen eventually, and they're going to have a match at WrestleMania. It's like, well, what do you do with him?
Yeah,
put him in face paint and prancing around the ring.
He's another one, I suppose, like Drew McIntyre and so on, who have had to leave, go somewhere else, sort of reinvent themselves to come back, haven't they?
Yeah. I'm not having it though. At the minute,
you're not.
No, I mean, I liked him in AEW. You kind of think he needed to. He doesn't want to be healed. I don't think that's his big thing.
Yeah, he wants
And
to
in
be.
AEW, if he wasn't going to be a heel, then yeah, he had to. And obviously got off a lot of money to go to WWF. Now they kind of put him up as now like the big star of the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
You're not having that.
I'm not having that.
It's still Stardust
he's
to you,
good.
isn't it?
He's great, but like, yeah, I'm not having him, Mister. Yeah, it's still ultimately again, it's still just Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
No, I know what you're getting to. Okay, so Jericho versus Cody Rhodes, Full Gear 2019. Up against that, then on the poll this week, I'm going to also use Chris Jericho as the link. I'm going to go a couple of years back from the match we've just watched, and actually watch a match that's, influences a lot of the things we've literally spent 5-10 minutes talking about, funnily enough. I want to go back to the May 21st, 2001 edition of Monday Night Raw and watch a tag team title match, main event, between Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they're facing Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. This is the match where Triple H injures himself. But what spiked my interest in this was I read, again, earlier on, reading these articles and so on, I was online just killing a bit of time. The one that followed on from what I read before was greatest matches in Monday Night Raw's history. So I clicked on it and scanned through, and this was mentioned. And of course, Jericho's in it, so I could link to it quite easily. But this was up there as apparently this individual who wrote this article had this listed as the greatest match in Monday Night Raw history, but you're not allowed to talk about it because Chris Benoit's in it. So I was like, okay, I remember it being good, but was it that good? So I'd like to go back and have a little look.
Yeah. I mean, that was an interesting time period, wasn't it? Because you don't know how that storyline would have played out with Austin and Triple H kind of going forward.
Two-man power trip, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, I remember that match being pretty good at the time.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't get spoken about because of
one individual, Stevie Richards.
Yeah.
So those are your options on the poll this week. You have Chris Jericho versus Cody Rhodes from AEW's Full Gear 2019, or you have Triple H and Steve Austin versus Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho from the May 21st, 2001 episode of Raw. The poll will be up, as always, later in the week, sort of just after the audio version comes out, just kind of really when I can remember to do it, because I quite often forget, which is bad form, really, because the show's literally fucking based around that poll. I don't understand why I keep forgetting, but it is what it is. It'll be up at the end of the week. Andy, do you want to let everybody know whereabouts they can find you online and your show and all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I'm at Bang Bang Podcast on Twitter. You can find the show in all the usual places you find podcasts. There's a Facebook page, but I've not been on there since probably late 2020. So there's not really much on there. There's not much on there. There's a few pictures of like random stuff up there, but yeah, don't worry about that. I'm actually on TikTok now, but I haven't actually done even on TikTok. It's only because Mags was banging on about it. So I made an account and so I wouldn't go and follow us on TikTok. So there's not much going on there. The show's out every Monday. This week we did Slamboree 1993. Next week we're doing Elimination Chamber 2015, which was Owens versus Cena, and Owens' first match in sort of main WWE. And also the world title match was Ambrose and Rollins for the world title. Which
I can't remember.
No, but that's like the gif of Seth Rollins who's making that face. That's what that comes from that match.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. So that was good for the audio listeners there.
They'll know what. They know
which gif I'm on about. He's making the kind of shocked face. Yeah. So that'll be out next week, and the show's out every Monday forever, pretty much. So go back. We got loads of back episodes talking about different wrestlers, and then there's a few Q&A shows we did when it was me and Steve. But yeah, to find us, and thanks very much, mate, for having me on.
Yeah, I'm on soon, aren't I?
You are on soon, yeah. Let me get my spreadsheet out. You're talking about, I think you're talking about some peak era NWA.
Yeah, some proper old school NWA, WCW.
NWA.
Yeah.
So Great American Bash.
To the shock of absolutely nobody. That's a...
But yeah, it's in a few weeks' time, I think. So yeah, so that'll be great. Obviously.
Yeah, you have to fire me a message to remind me, mate.
I will, mate.
Just make sure I'm kept in the loop, because I forget all the time. I forget
Plenty
everything.
of notice, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, brilliant stuff. You can find me on Twitter at SJP Words. And on Facebook, there is a group there, SJP, all the shows and info. And those are sort of your main 2 points, I guess, to get links to all the shows I'm involved in. You have, obviously, this show here on a Monday night, and the podcast version comes out later in the week. More wrestling-based stuff, I guess. I look back on WCW show by show, week by week, with our good friend Scottish Danny on Nitro Nights. That comes out every Thursday, I think. But if science fiction or time travel is more your bag, then there's a couple of shows I do there as well. I am involved in The Waiting Room, a Quantum Leap podcast, looking back on Quantum Leap one show at a time with our good friend Benny Mack. And Dan Griffin and I look back on Doctor Who quite regularly. Just finished our first season. Season 2 is coming back very, very soon with the Doctor Who pod. Yeah, there we go. But most importantly, I guess, you can find this show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that TikTok thingamy at @chain_wrestling. Again, Twitter is your best bet, really. I don't understand how some of those other ones work, but there we go. It's been an absolute blast, Andy. Thank you so much for filling in, mate. I've had a great time. You probably feel now, after sunburn and hangovers, that you need sleep, my friend.
I've got university in the morning, so yeah.
The mature student that you are, yes?
Very mature, yeah. Yeah. Extra mature, yeah.
Extra mature. Oh, there we go. Okay, then. So I guess I'm off now, probably, to watch the rest of WrestleMania 19, because it just sounds like a bloody good show, doesn't it? I will speak to everybody next week. Andy, thanks again, my friend. Ta-da.
Thanks, mate. Take care. Cheers, guys. Thanks, bye.